I will speak to the U.S., and the grade that I would give Mr. Obama would be mostly town hall, because I think that is really where he has taken his policies to the market. I, too, focus primarily on financial issues as well as corporates, and that is our business. What Obama has failed to do is really failed to be a friend of business, although he's loudly protesting that he is a friend of business right now. But there's very little in his legislative agenda, including his tax and spend, that has helped business out. On the positive side, I think that Obama was very supportive of the Treasury and the Fed when we needed it most. It was pretty clear to a lot of us in the lengthening days of 2008 that liquidity needed to come into the system very, very abruptly. It's hard to recall right now how the capital markets almost froze, but they did, in fact, almost freeze. So his support, albeit perhaps grudgingly, of the capital markets and the liquidity deployed there is on the positive side.
I think the one thing that we've learned in the last couple of years is no one can be complacent in the face of turmoil anywhere in the world. Contagion is a reality of the world we live in, and it's very easy to see how, or we saw all too painfully how what seems a seemingly minor problem in a narrow segment of the money markets spread and became a worldwide financial.
But the recovery that we are seeing among the corporates in the U.S. is extremely fragile. To use a different analogy, I would liken it to someone that had a severe heart attack in 2008, was put on all kinds of medication and drugs and felt an awful lot better, and now we have to begin to withdraw the drugs. And we're not quite sure how well we really are, and we really need to get back to health. So it's extremely...
See any signs of green shoots in Japan yet. And this is, I think, a bigger concern than people seem to be giving attention to. The Bank of Japan is predicting 2 more years of deflation, even though at the same time they say that deflation is intolerable. The population, as you probably know, is already declining, and the numbers that just came out this morning suggest that the percent of the working age population that is employed is the lowest level on record. With deflation having persisted for so long, with Japan having been in either low growth or a recession for so long, it's really difficult to see what will spark an increase in domestic demand, which is what the consensus is that needs to happen. If you think about it, someone who was born in 1980, who is now 30 years old and is probably embarking on their career or making some career choices, that person has never, ever in his adult life seen interest rates go up or the stock market go up. I think, sociologically, it's really an important and interesting study to be done on how that affects someone's attitude. Market with the trillions of yen that are left to refinance and the new JGB issues that have to be undertaken to support current social programs, the problem is who's going to buy? Households directly and indirectly in Japan own 51% of JGBs in issue. That's through their bank accounts, which are there, then invested in JGBs, or through their pension funds, which are then invested in JGBs. And yet the population is declining and aging. And so one can expect them to draw on savings, and it's really not clear where the demand for JGBs is going to come from. And if it has to be put on, if we have to attract foreigners in to get smooth issue of JGBs away, they're going to demand much higher interest rates, and it will be very, very, very interesting and difficult to see how the market reacts, how the JGB market reacts.
But I think that the fundamental reality, you said, what kind of recovery can the U.S. have? And the answer is a very different one than we'd expect to see after a very deep recession. How different? Well, it's going to be one in which households are going to be deleveraging, reducing indebtedness, because debt levels of U.S. households are simply unsustainably high. That means that consumer spending is going to grow a lot less lot less rapidly than it typically does in the early stages of recovery. The U.S. is going to have to derive most of its growth, a good bit of its growth, an unusual share of its growth, from exports and from capital spending. The good news here is that maybe the outlook on that is a little brighter than I thought a few months back.